Masks conceal, but they also reveal. Here, in one of the most remote sites on Earth, isolated by choice, a culture of magical beings whose invisible fetishes can kill. The Dogons put their whole cosmology on display in a ceremony called Sigi. The Sigi is a festival every 60 years in Dogon country where a new mask is unveiled at this juncture. It does follow along with the cycles of Sirius, the dog star, which have been central to all the understandings of Dogons. In fact, there are some people who believe that the Dogons were actually visited by aliens from Sirius, the dog star. Join us as we meet the Dogons in the middle of West Africa on the outskirts of nowhere. Language is the essence of humanity. But half the languages on Earth will disappear this century. This is our last chance to connect with the sounds and tastes and wisdom of these people in their own languages. I'm Bob Holman, adventurer for the word, and we're going on the road.
You welcome to Timbuktu.
You welcome to the middle of nowhere.
Arriving in Timbuktu, it's nothing like I thought it would be. Instead of a shimmering Sahara city of mystery, I find a dusty desert town.
That was close. Okay. Yeah. Climb out.
Okay. Yoo-hoo! Emerging from the oldest historic site in town, Saba explained that this is where the camel caravans used to refuel on their way to Jenne.
After continue to go to Jenne, and there the Jenne people ask them, where you come from? They answer to say, I come from to the well of a lady. The lady, she's named Baktu.
Timbuktu, the mysterious, was founded by a woman who lived alone out in the desert.
Yes.
Well.
Yeah.
Baktu, name of the lady who runs the well.
Yeah, we come from a Timbuktu.
Timbuktu?
Yeah,
the ladies' well.
Yeah, ladies' well.
Walking down the back alleys of Timbuktu, what Saba said is real clear. Timbuktu these days is continuously having to save itself from the desert. The mystery of what happens inside these walls, rich or poor, faces the inexorable Sahara just outside. In a lonely outpost on the outskirts of town, we visit the Municipal Museum and Library. Here's what's left of the intellectual and spiritual capital of Africa, Timbuktu, in the 15th and 16th centuries.
Un Peul, un Fulfulde,
Fulani,
un Tamashek,
un
Songhai,
Sangoi,
mais avec des caractères arabes.
with Arab characters. Wow, always writing with Arab characters, even in the different languages. Very interesting.
In charge of the entire written repository of these early African manuscripts is our friend Belwan, the lone librarian who oversees these African languages preserved in glass vitrines.
Commentaire du Coran.
The Quran.
Copié par Ahmed Omar de Granada.
To Granada.
Les correspondances des actes de commerce. Le commerce des esclaves, des bâtiments, des armes, des manuscrits. Toutes sortes de marchandises du XIe siècle à nos jours.
Wait, the birth of colonialism, right here in that green ribbon.
Traité, astronomie.
Astronomy.
Voilà, c'est fait par Saad Ben Salman à Tombouctou, 16e siècle.
Timbuktu is a metaphor for what it looks like when a language dies. A locked glass case with a few beautiful specimens, a city that digs itself out of the desert on a daily basis. When a language dies, a culture dies, a unique way of looking at the world, a connection of sound and sense and the earth itself. And if it's sand that is the determining factor here, I am determined to find that culture built on sand. Seems like I'm inside Timbuktu at this point. Our man Sana Sabili is teaching us the proper Tuareg. Ça va?
Ça va.
Here he comes, Bob of Arabia, Bob Rambeau. Having successfully solved the mysteries of Timbuktu, I now come to another challenge: how to mount a camel.
It's not possible to go alone. Yes, your feet.
Did you get that?
Okay, you make your feet in the neck. You keep your feet in the neck. Put your feet in the neck. Yeah.
I don't think he likes me as a driver.
Keep going. Come on. Come on. Let's go. That's good. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Come on. Tell you a story of the mysteries of the Sahara. Then you can tell me a story about the Sahara mysteries. Basically scratch the surface of sand and reveal another story. Scratch the surface of sky, there's a story there too. Between the sky and the sand, here we are. We live here, telling stories of the mysteries of the Sahara. Camel doesn't like poetry. Camel likes big old Bob to be down. I make contact with the Tuaregs, or Tamasheks, as they call themselves in their own language. These are the nomadic inhabitants of the interior of the Sahara who range across 6 countries but recognize no national boundaries. The women set up on the ground with their single-string fiddle, the ansad, and the goatskin tambour called the timbori. The stunning silver medallions that adorn some are worth tens of thousands. The hand motions are slow and deliberate, flowing like water in the wind, a gestural alphabet of contained desire. Shukran. They're called the blue people, the way the deep indigo dye of their clothes works its way into their skin. The Tuaregs have been pushed away from many oases and watering holes by political forces. They've been fighting, sometimes with guns, for an understanding of their culture. In politics, they're known as the Sahrawi, the owners of the Sahara. A day's drive and a world away, on the edge of the earth, live the Dogons. U.S. poet Nathaniel Mackey introduced me to this tribe in his poem, Songs of the Andambulu. The Andambulu and Dogon mythology are our precursors of failed human experiment. Mackey thinks we are the Andambulu, and I agree. It'll do something to your mind to be here in Dogon territory. You begin to think of life as not being contained within the scientific structures. Before the Dogons, there were the Telem, at least that's how the story goes. The Telem were small people who built their homes in caves or on top of the escarpments. The question has always been, how did they get there? And the Dogons have a very simple answer. They flew. Looking at this escarpment, you can definitely see that that makes sense. At least as much sense as the rest of this landscape does. The 500,000 Dogons are cliff dwellers living in, on, and under the Bandiagara escarpment. Their cosmology details every action of their lives, not just in their famous masks, but actually in the very architecture itself. Here, granaries are male and female, ladders are serpents, the house for menstruating women is a planet apart. Breweries, houses, fetishes, all are placed in cosmological conjunctions, and when you look above, there are the ancient dwellings of the Telem, now being used as funerals. Everything begins with a nomo, an originating water creature with an extraordinary appearance. They had a human upper body, although their skin was green and their eyes were red, and a snake lower body, a tail. All of the children were twins. Makes sense with the duality of the sun and the moon, the duality of male and female. It's hard for the Western mind to grasp a culture like the Dogons that's literally ruled over by the planets and the spirits who not only are intermediaries, but actually live inside household objects and become the fetishes that dot the landscape and are personified in the extraordinary masks the Dogons create and which occasionally come to life. I hear that a mask ceremony may be happening soon. Will I be allowed to attend?
But those means by the legs of the village.
My guide, Sekou, says he can go so far, then I'm on my own. But if I speak a bit of the language and breathe the Dogon way, maybe I can make it to the masks.
The what? The E. Yeah. Thanks.
Well, it seems I made a good enough impression on the Hogan, the village chief, to take the next step.
I think I'm gonna go. You know, this is a relaxing place. It's said that if you stand up and hit your head in the Tanogan, that you have to pay a fine. So be careful coming in and out. This is where all the decisions are going to get made. Parliament is in session, you know.
Yeah.
We'll talk it out, you know. Whoever's here is going to make the decision. You know, it doesn't matter. You guy. Yohanago. Yohanago. Yohanago sale. Yohanago sales. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, not my wife. No, she's not my wife. You're going to try to get me married off before it ends. Forget it. Oh, good no. Oh, good no. Okay. Okay, thank you all. It's really nice. Bye-bye, you know. Good no. Okay, look. Oh. Almost got me that time. Okay, yeah.
The Dogon culture and anthropology is practically synonymous with masks. For the Dogons themselves, the masks are a mirror to the world and, for the men, mark the rites of passage. You begin as rabbits and hyena, learning their ways and habits. Small children make their own masks out of flattened plastic liter bottles, play their own games that will soon enough become serious as they move through the 50 or so masks that mark the whole of Dogon cosmology. Generally, the ceremonies contain ways of cleansing a place from the evil spirits after a death and before a funeral. But there are also sources of community and play off the different castes that make up the system of Dogon life. The chief ceremony of the Dogon is the Sigi, which happens every 60 years, in tune with the secret moons of Sirius, the dog star.
In Dogon, sometimes some people can fly like a bird in Dogon. Yes, with some speech, but it's your own secret. You can tell it to another person the secret. Some people can turn into lion, into elephant, the gazelles. But don't tell, it's a secret. Yeah.
My guide said one way to get invited to the mask ceremony was to beat Gnu, the wise man in the local counting game Niu, similar to Mancala. Start again. Start again. Start again. Okay, ready? So what's the game called? M-E-N. Okay. But unfortunately, I couldn't tell which hole was which to put the seeds in. And then things got worse. We're playing again? I won. Did I win? You won. Oh, good game.
Oh, well, I didn't win, but I didn't lose either, because you can't lose when you're playing with Gounod, the great The wise man who told us that today was going to also be a beautiful day.
Since I lost the game, I had to come up with a whole new strategy. So I thought, why not buy beer for the whole town? Millet beer. It's made by the women, and I commissioned the local brewmeister to make up a special batch. The millet is soaked in warm water until it sprouts. That increases the sugar content, which is going to make for some great alcohol. Oh, it's the art of brewing. At the peak of germination, the softened millet is poured into giant pots that are heated over a wood fire. Strands of baobab wood and bark are put with other fermentation agents into a secret bag which, when ready, disappears straight into the brew. Fermentation is a long process. And while we're waiting for the beer to cook up, women take some millet and grind it into flour to make some millet bread.
Why?
Oh, that's good. That's my first taste of
Yes,
Bunyan.
it's like a cider.
It's like a cider.
Yeah, cider.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
I could drink more of that.
Yes.
I could definitely drink more of that.
And a spoon. The whole spoon.
The beer was warm, a bit bitter, and delicious. Yummity, yum, yum, yum. As I gave it out, I tried to make it an inducement so I could see the mask ceremony. But it seems the sole purpose of millet beer in the Dogon world is just to have a good time. Since nothing seemed to be working, I went to see the diviners. Way beyond fortune tellers, these wise men of the Dogons are relied upon by the entire village. They're basically the daily newspapers, only the news is delivered a day early. To get to the plateau where the divination takes place, we travel past the renowned onion fields of Sangha. This was an idea of Marcel Griaule, the French anthropologist who spent most of his life with the Dogons. After he'd been here for 13 years, he was told, well, you're ready to visit the blind guy, which began his conversations with Ogotameli, the key to understanding Dogon cosmology. In this, he learned about the pale fox, a small secret nocturnal mammal, which is the key to Dogon divination. The diviners work in small sand beds defined by rocks, almost like miniature burial grounds. They smooth the sand with a sacred stone, forming a kind of lined tablet on the earth. Each section is defined by a person or group and a question. An intricate language of small sand hills, pebbles, and twigs is used to encode the information. Questions always begin with the weather and the news of the village, and then we were able to ask group and individual questions ourselves. Finally, ground nuts are sprinkled over this sort of Ouija board. They're there to attract the pale fox. My individual question had to do with my daughters. Would I live long enough to see their marriages? And as for the group, would we be able to see the mask ceremony? With these questions in the sand, it was time to return to the village and have some sleep, allow the pale fox to creep out from the rock ledges and do its miraculous work. The diviner's day begins at sunup with a long trek to the divination field. It's a great time for meditation, but I was feeling a bit nervous. A bad augury here would mean the end of our story.
Everybody had good results. Pretty amazing.
But you will see, not the thing, you will see.
Yeah.
But all things we are saying here, you will see even the good thing in 6 years and...
Wait. So it's really good things for the group. Yeah. The group project looks really good.
The pale fox has spoken with paw prints and broken twigs, pebbles kicked about. Each detail has a specific meaning for the diviners. And the result portends a happy end for our group. Now it's time to bring the good news back to the Dogon and see if I can seal the deal.
It's okay. But you bring more colonels.
I bring more colonels. More colonels for everybody. Put that in the deal memo. Deal memo, we got more colonels. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
And do you know why the Dogon women can go inside the Dogon? But here is a place where the wise men talk the secret for the village. But here we debate all problems of the village.
Right.
And the date for the festival, where all things were talked here. So it's like a parliament. It's like a parliament.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's a big
Very
office
good.
here.
Very good.
Yeah.
So we think that Saturday will be a good day for the festival.
I think.
Someday.
I think.
Someday, because Musa thinks it's good, and the whole all of the people.
Musa tell it.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, I thank everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I bring more coconuts. Beautiful. Okay.
At long last, the day of the festival is here. The whole village turns out and waits in anticipation. And suddenly,
Watch out. Watch out. Wow.
the words are in Sigiso, a secret sacred language known only by a few. Many of the masks are incarnations of animals, cows, cranes, lizards. Each mask has its own traditions and lore, secret knowledge, dance steps, gestures, sound. Each mask represents both part of the belief system of the Dogons and the lineage of those who have previously worn the masks.
Griaule Trail takes a turn right into the Dogon escarpment, Falaise Dogon, directly behind me. People who have maintained their own oral traditions in a way that is fierce and cosmological, but not fierce in a warlike way, fierce in the way that this land here retains its own silence.